Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Miranda. I'm going into my fourth year of architecture, and this is
Todd Briggs, landscape architect with TRUEFORM.
all right. So we'll go ahead and move into those questions. Uh, what key life experiences have formed who you are today?
I'd say first of all, practicing as a landscape architect in the desert, the key life experiences was being born in the desert. So, uh, being born here, and living my entire life here, correlates directly to practice within design. Um, and there's certainly others. Having children, um, traveling. There's a lot of things that sort of all, you know, circle around, making who you are today.
All right. How did you become passionate and involved in our city?
Well, um, living here my entire life, but then also sort of after school, having lived in the Tempe area, relocating to Phoenix and living in the almost downtown area, and then being able to practice as a landscape architect and working within urban environment, both here in Phoenix, then in Tempe. You've seen some of the campus work that we've been fortunate enough to work on. I just think that I'm vested in where I live, and
Okay.
uh, want to be a sort of a productive member of the community is always something that um, we're pretty fortunate to do.
What are your core values and how are they reflected in your work?
Um, Core values are, you know, understanding where we live and being authentic to that. Um, Trying to take cues from our natural environment, and translate that into our work. And those the buzzword of sustainability, but just responsible um, design that is contextual to our place.
All right. Why is our city a great city?
Oh boy. Well, a lot of people would say it's for the excellent climate, um, a lot of growth, um, incredible, unique, and diverse um, desert, ecology. Um, Boy, that's a tough one. Why is it great? There's lots of great cities across the world. I hope Phoenix, fits in the pecking order. But I guess people flock here because of the weather and sun. Hopefully, because we have a incredible environment, and basically like the Sonoran Desert is being so unique across the world.
Uh, what causes, projects, and activities are you involved in and why?
Oh, causes. Well, I am currently the chapter president for um, the Arizona chapter of ASLA. That's basically, obviously, promoting the profession as a whole, and specific to Arizona.
All right. How do you collaborate with other groups and individuals to realize your impactful work?
Well, you first have to be open to collaboration, and you have to understand that you can't do this on your own. And so you need lots of resources, lots of other people, um, all with the same direction, and hopefully through that you have all those diverse perspectives, and without collaboration, none of the work we do is possible at all.
What other creators who are focused on similar causes, projects, and activities have influenced you?
I'd say, I'm inspired by artists, but when it's more specific, maybe to our, construction growth industry, architects and landscape architects, landscape architects such as Steve Martino, Christy Tanaik, um, architects like, um, doing great work here in the desert. Um, there's a long line of them. Will Bruder and Eddie Jones and Rick Joy. I mean, there's a lot of people who stand out that are doing great, regional work that always inspire us.
All right. What would you recommend I do to become a future creator of our great city?
Oh, embrace collaboration, embrace teamwork, um, and then don't be afraid to take risks.
All right, I'll go ahead and move away from the scripted questions and I'll ask you questions that I had on a more personal note. All right. I see that you have a bachelor's of science in landscape architecture. Would you argue that a degree is important when working in this field? Do you believe that this is a field that can be worked into by someone who is unable to or unable to obtain or does not have a degree?
I think that having a degree specific to um, the field of which you want to practice in is certainly helpful, but it is not absolutely 100% critical. There are examples. Um, Steve Martino didn't receive a degree in landscape architecture. Um, I I believe Will Droder was practicing with a ceramics degree, if I'm not wrong. I mean, it's possible for sure because you basically just have to have sort of a good mindset. Obviously, some intangibles with understanding, design and space, and be passionate. And you can work your way into this field without a degree.
Out of the many projects that you and your team have been involved with, which one presented the most issues, and how was your team able to work together to overcome those issues?
Well, there's multitudes of issues. Sometimes the issue is budget, and
Yeah.
um, budget is something that is takes some experience to understand how to navigate those challenges and how to squeeze everything you can out of every penny. And that there are lots of projects that are budget challenged. Other challenges with projects might be just um, a, a challenging site or lots of when you first approach a project and there's obviously that first step, and you've heard this probably 100 times. There's opportunities and there's constraints, and sometimes the constraints outweigh the opportunities possibly. And some of those constraints are just things that you can't, sort of that they're real. And uh, I think when I think you saw in our talk about the library, um, you know, we looked at that project as something that was a great success because there were multitudes of complexities that some could be construed as constraints, and we worked through those and around them, and overcame them just through the ingenuity of the entire team, and obviously through the collaborative efforts of a team.
You and your team have worked on plenty of spaces that are public, which means it is often critiqued by people who may not understand your design process. How do you convince people of your design and learn from critiques?
Well, public spaces are something that we cherish, that we love to work on, because we feel it benefits the broader community, and they're much more accessible. But in that comes a great level of responsibility to be sure that you're addressing the needs of the entire public cross section, rather than maybe curtailing it to um, you know certain groups of people and then excluding others. So that's always a big challenge. But in terms of like the critique of that, we often don't get to hear that, and unless you're working on specifically an actual real public project funded by public money in a public space, um, then you're really not going to have the opportunity to um, listen to the public and have input, feedback, and whatnot up front in the design process. It may not even be after. I think the real um, truest evaluation for us that we see is sort of post occupancy, that we can go to our project and see how it's being used, see how it may be um, evolving in the way that we maybe predicted or close to how we predicted. And that really starts to we take stock in that and allow that to um, take cues from and be learning opportunities for us as we move forward with other designs.
You have clearly developed a design process that works best for you, one that you have crafted over the years of working in this field. What is one major thing about design that you learned late in your professional career that changes how you approach your designs? Slash, what would you tell younger Todd to focus on more?
Technology. Yeah, that's really where things are going, but I don't want us to lose that initial, thought process, that real tactile process of sketching and using our hands to express design ideas and thoughts. But the technology aspect is quite phenomenal, and I think when you can marry the what some people would call traditional design process with this sort of new expression of thought and ideas, if you can marry those together and be mindful of both, I think that is kind of the perfect world.
Perfect. So like embrace new technologies, but don't lose like the roots of where this all came from.
Exactly. Don't lean on that technology too much, or we're apt to be generating things just like ChatGPT.
Right.